Well, a very good morning and welcome to Ruka, the north of Finland, hosting the Nordic Opening for 2015-2016 winter season. And bad news with the Nordic combined, that's had to be postponed. There's a possible chance that may be cancelled yet again, but the cross-country skiing will take place despite the fact that the temperature's been fluctuating wildly over the last couple of days. Now, for the women's 10 kilometre in the classic style, we're up north and the altitude of 492 metres won't be a problem for anyone. Marit Bjørgen, the winner of this race last year. Marit Bjørgen, of course, away this season, and she's having what they tend to call a family break, so having her first child in a few weeks' time. We wish her well. We'll miss her on the tour this year, but it does make things interesting, Mike. Therese Johaug, though, seems to have started off where Bjørgen left off, and she looks unbeatable in the distance races at the moment.
Yeah, she's just destroying the field so far. Everything we've seen about Johaug is today will be a big challenge for anyone to try and pull her time back.
Well, let's have a look at some of the big stars of cross-country. Therese Johaug, most wins this season with 2 at Ruka. Well, that's back to 2010-11 of the races here today. And she has been in incredible form, particularly in the classic style. The only person to beat her in the classic distance race last year was Marit Bjørgen. Even Justina Kowalczyk didn't get close to Johaug last year in the classic style. So everything, all the stats are pointing to yet another Therese Johaug victory. But, Mike, it's a very close start. She's got Osbergen Veng, her teammate, starting within 5 seconds. Ingmar's daughter's only 5.7 behind. Stina Nielsen's not far behind. And Charlotte Kalla, 15 seconds adrift at the start.
Yes, and I think Veng, with that 4.9 seconds behind, Veng, for me, is the favourite to try and haul this lady back to date.
Well, these are some shots of Therese Johaug in yesterday's race, and I said my only question mark was whether she was quick enough over 5k. We knew she'd be good over 10 or 15, but she started so quick and really instantly showing that the sprint training, the strength training she's done over the last 18 months has more than paid off. A monster margin of 41 seconds initially when she crossed the line. It was a devastating pace. Only her time only approached by Charlotte Kalla, despite the fact that Kalla fell on that final hill.
Yeah, Kalla's in good form though, and classic, not her strength, which is today's race. Her strength is the freestyle. I think it was a very good performance from Kalla.
17 seconds behind. What would that have been without the fall?
I think that would be down to at least, 12, 13?
Ingmar's daughter, very impressive.
Yeah, great start to her season. I haven't seen her look so fresh, so sparky, so strong for a very long time.
So the ladies' 10 pursuit classic is on the cards today, and they're racing. Their start position is dependent on their performances in both the sprint and yesterday's freestyle race. So it's a mini tour, as a fact, the Ruka Triple as it's known. Tough way to start the season. 3 days, 3 races. The organisers don't have much sympathy for the racers. But good conditions, some excellent races, and it all gets underway in just a couple of minutes' time. This is the scene. It doesn't look too wild and windy, but too windy for the ski jumping earlier on today, too windy last night, but cross-country skiers have been able to brave it out. And actually, Mike, the conditions have been pretty good for skiing, and they've done really well to get the tracks in good nick, because when it's +5 and raining, the tracks fall apart, and then when it drops down to freezing, they turn into very hard glazed tracks. So really tricky. It was 5 degrees again earlier this morning. It's dropped down to -4 again. That's unusual to have such a fluctuation at this time of day.
And that makes sense. I saw Stina Nielsen, who starts off today in 5th position, only 11 seconds behind. She was out skiing, and they must have had softer wax on for earlier, like Clister, and the temperature's dropping, and I saw her really, her grip, her wax completely lock her. She nearly fell over, which makes sense. There's the profile, and it's 4 times around this very tough course, so it's even more difficult today, I think, by reducing it to the 2.5 rather than the 2 times around the 5 kilometre. it brings you back into the stadium climb 4 times, but certainly makes a more exciting race. Bib 29 there, you can see on Dotsenko, it's Klister, Silver Crest Klister. Most of the athletes going for the Klister. You need that in these very glazed track conditions.
Well, this is what is known as a pursuit start, a chasing start. Have a look at the right-hand side to see the margin behind the leader that they'll get underway. So Johaug leading in the distance races in the World Cup. Big moment for her. She could turn that red bib into yellow today. She will turn it into yellow if she wins this race. Lots of bonus points for the winner of the mini tour. Justyna Kowalczyk there, starting number 24, and her margin, did I see that right, Mike? Was it 55 seconds for Kowalczyk behind the leaders?
It was, and that's a huge task. You certainly feel that Kowalczyk will move up from 24th, certainly into the 20s, maybe even top 15.
Top 10, surely. On her best form, you'd be thinking she could do something about this. 10K, classic style. It's her perfect race, perfect distance. But we haven't seen that form. 7.5% behind the best yesterday.
I was basing it on that. Of course, her classic will be much, much better today. Yes, let's say she could pull back. For top 10, all she has to do is pull back 20 seconds. That is achievable when your name is Kowalczyk, I think. But she didn't look good yesterday. That's what I was basing it on.
And just a quick one on the men before they get underway. A lot of people saying, how come Martin Fourcade was so slow in the sprint? 92nd position or something. It was classic style. He doesn't race classic normally. And then 22nd in the freestyle yesterday for Martin Fourcade. That's something to do with a later start position. Where he'd have been had he started in the first 30, we don't know, but he certainly would have been 15-20 seconds quicker.
I think he would have. I think that's a fair estimation, and today again Martin Fourcade, he doesn't do classic skiing except for recovery sessions, and I think you'll find the 15 kilometre here in an hour and a half time extremely testing.
Ida Ingmarsdottir, first time she's ever been the leader of the World Cup. This will be a moment she remembers, and if she holds on to that yellow bib, that would be a major achievement. Faller, who won the sprint on the first day, lightning quick over the shorter distances, 1.5. Give her a couple of seasons, I think we're going to see her competitive over 5 and 10 as well.
I hope so. She's Faller more and more an out-and-out sprinter. Parma Koski, she's good. Classic is her favoured style. She'll move up.
Starting 10th and a margin of 34.8 behind. Charlotte Kaller's a whole lot closer. 15.5 behind for Charlotte Kaller. She could do some damage today. Moments to go before the start. Therese Johaug, who looks a bundle of fun at the end of every race, looks very, very serious before them. She takes this very seriously indeed, and she just wants another win. Ferociously competitive, despite the fact that she's got interests in modelling and other things. She's the golden girl at the moment. So she gets underway. Østberg, her teammate, alongside her, having earned good points in the sprint earlier on this weekend. Away goes Ingmarsdottir. Just behind her, Charlotte Kaller going at 15 seconds. There she is. And Kaller will want to get onto the tail of her teammates very quickly. Powerful start from Kaller. And now it's up to Faller and Hager of Norway to try and jump onto the back of Kaller and get driven along. Then we got a little bit of a gap back to Astrid Jakobsen. I think we're going to see two groups developing fairly early on, Mike. Parma Koski, has she got what it takes to close that 34-second gap and get up with a front group? I think it's unlikely.
There's a few sprinters ahead of her, Patrick. When you look at Østberg, who started alongside Johaug, she really is better at the sprint racing, so she's going to drop back. Stina Nielsen, more a sprinter, so again, gives Parma Koski a chance.
Number 17 is Hannah Falk going out behind Evelina Settlin. Then the Germans coming out in numbers. Number 21 on the far side, Tanshina, looking for Kowalski. Kowalczyk, I should say, number 24. So there she is, and that's quite a margin. And to chase down 24 seconds on Therese Johaug, who is already starting to pull away from Østberg. What surprised me in the sprint yesterday is how quick Johaug was over the first 1.2. She'd already developed 4-second lead, and it looks as though she's doing the same.
Look at that, she's doing exactly the same. 1 minute 30 and 25 seconds of that was fast downhill, so she's destroying this early the sort of start which Østberg had alongside her, as expected. What's wrong with Usberg? She's not using her wax, she's just using arm power at the moment. Is there a problem with her grip wax?
Well, it's those classic conditions, isn't it, Mike? But it's zero effectively, and we've got a very big up and down course. The temperature at the top of the hills is a lot warmer than it is at the bottom. It's a nightmare situation for the technicians. It would be nice to see the base of the skis. I think there'll be a fair amount of Microschuber or non-wax skis out there, because it's not as quick, but it's less risky.
It is less risky, and all the athletes having issues with these difficult temperatures. And I thought Therese at the front there, I thought her waxing was just a little too aggressive, too sticky, but it's certainly taking her up this steepest of hills very well. The fitness level to dance your way up these steep climbs, she's quite amazing. Light, very light, slender body weight.
To the extreme. Well, let's fill you in on that. She's 162 tall, which I think is around, what, 5'3.5", 5'4", so she's small, but she only weighs 46 kilograms. 46 kilograms, half the weight of most of the guys out there who will be trying to work their way up these hills. And anyone who's studied physiology knows that your VO2 is calculated, and it's determined by your body weight effectively, the amount of oxygen you get in for every kilogram that you have. So when you're down at 46, you've got a huge advantage.
Quite amazing. But then the disadvantage is you haven't quite got the muscle capacity. Well, she has. She's worked so hard in the gym. Those legs, those arms are amazingly strong. Slender, fast, untouchable.
Look at this. She started with Usberg and she's already opened up over 10 seconds. But the question is Kalle managing to close on the leaders? Well, Heidi Weng 13 behind now, having started 4.9. Ingmar's daughter 13.5, having started 5.7. Nielsen 14.5, having started 11.2. So Nielsen's doing the best of that group. And Charlotte Kalle at 24 seconds behind, having started 15. So she's lost the same amount of time as Usberg. And I actually thought Kalle, although it was a good race yesterday, I thought she looked pretty tired. She didn't look as though she was quite 100% race fit.
Interesting. I mean, she did look exhausted crossing that line, but remember the terrain that you're going up into the finish here, as they will be doing 4 times in this race.
OK, Mike, it's not a question of whether Johaug's going to win this. It's a question of what the margin is going to be at the end of the day. And I think we're looking at around a minute 20 clear.
Surely, Patrick, if she's it's looking after just 3 minutes of racing, she's destroying the field, which is incredible in this sport. Surely she'll back off and conserve something. There's no point. A win is a win. She's going to get the money. She's going to get the points. It doesn't matter the margin. But yes, I agree. Will she slow down? Probably not. But she's got the races back home in Lillehammer next week.
Well, think back to Sapporo, where she made her name, getting a bronze in the 30k at, what was she, 17 or something. Think back to Oslo, where she won the 30k there. Have you ever seen her hold back?
No. and that's the great thing. If you've got an athlete who can take themselves like a little terrier, attacking and only designed to attack, that's what this lady is. And if, as a coach, if you've got somebody with this personality trait, you've got a star. You've got an absolute champion. You just have to set them up, put them on a track and say go, and they will not stop fighting.
Well, I'm sitting next to someone who has that personality trait as well. and I think if you're honest, you'll agree that it was your greatest asset, was your ability to hurt yourself as opposed to your physiological capacity. And you know how she thinks and how she works.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, and I think you can create it. You can do a lot of mind training to make it better, but I think it's an ingredient that you need to be born with, really.
Well, this is where the race is, isn't it? For second, third and fourth. Johaug is away and clear. She's done the damage on the first loop. I wonder whether Sundby, who will be starting the men's race with an advantage of 11 seconds, well, he says, well, if Therese can do it, I surely have to do it. Because I think Sundby can't afford to be too cagey. I know his sprinting's better, but is it good enough to hold off the pack if they all do the laps together?
Do you know, I think the men's race is going to be very, very different shape to this, because the pack are going to fight so hard to close Sundby down. But what's happening now? Has Therese Johaug, has she gone off too hard here? Because this chasing pack are looking as if they're conserving energy, and it's getting closer. It was 12 seconds. They're going to be much the same. That camera foreshortened it.
It's deceptive. 14.2. So Johaug still pulling away. but perhaps not as quickly as she did early on. But that first 3K was very, very quick indeed from Therese Johaug. Charlotte Kaller at 23.7, so she's gained a second back on the race leader, but no more than that. Faller, who started 7th, is still 7th, now 25 behind, having started 15. And now, I guess, Mike, we're looking to see whether Kowalczyk has managed to do any make any ground on the race leader.
She has, well, at the first check she has, and I expect she'll move up even further. She's up to 17th from 24.
Up to 17th, but she's lost 10 seconds on the race leader. Welcome back to Ruka. Familiar figure coming around the corner. It is, of course, Therese Johaug, the race leader here in the third of the Ruka triple. And looks as though she is heading for the yellow bib as the World Cup leader. And, of course, yet another World Cup win. 22 wins to her name already. And Johaug, who had a tremendous season last year. She also won the Birkebeiner Rennet, Mike, that finishes in Lillehammer. A time of 2:41.46. Can you remember exactly how far that is?
I think that's close to 42 kilometres, a marathon, but it's with 4 kilos on your back, isn't it?
I'm asking.
The Birkie?
I'm not sure about that. All I know is it's of the tour races, it's now one of the most popular in Scandinavia, and certainly contends with the Vasaloppet, which is the big one in Sweden.
Yes, the Birkebeiner is simulating the king running with the little prince who was a little baby at the time, so it's simulating that race across the mountains, carrying a young child.
If she's carrying 4 kilograms, she's carrying 8% extra on her body weight.
Well, it just shows how strong. I expect Heidi Weng is still hanging in there in second place. She started third. I expect that she's going to be creating some kind of gap in second place to the rest of the chasing pack.
There's Charlotte Kaller going through. 4 medals from the World Championships last year, a gold in the 10K. She's going to struggle to finish top today. Faller from Norway going through in 7th position. Haga was just behind her. Number 12, Kerttu Niskanen, who's made a couple of places. She's gone ahead now of Ragnhild Haga. And that's quite a good gain. So no one's going to be gaining time on Therese Johaug. We'll try and keep an eye on where the positions are changing. And Kowalczyk certainly one we need to watch out for. Koloinen of Finland actually has made good ground so far. She's already made up 10 places. And we'll see whether she can improve on that and get herself into the top 15. Ingmarsdottir Mike, 23.2 behind, but really, she needs to think tactically now, but she wants to beat the Norwegians and, of course, Nielsen and maintain second place in the World Cup standings. Kaller, now 41 behind. She missed her opportunity. She had to close that gap on the leading 5. Just couldn't do it.
I'm surprised. I mean, that was the strategy, surely, for Kaller, was to close in on Ingmarsdottir, her teammate, and try and get up there with Weng. She had to pull back 9 seconds to do just that, but clearly not on form at the moment. Could it be an issue with her, how kick-wax may be?
Parmakoski's lost 26 seconds to the race leader, but pretty much holding her position. The wind picking up. This was the forecast, and we've just heard actually over the headphones that the Nordic Combined has been cancelled for the day. There will be no Nordic Combined, so that's unlucky for them. 2 races in succession, 2 days in succession, but you can see the movement in the trees. Now, a strong wind, maybe that's the only thing that can beat Johaug, because at 48 kilos, if it's a headwind, she suffers more than most.
Well, you know, as you said, she's only 1.62 meters. I think she's less than that. I was standing beside her at the airport, and I'm not very tall, and I felt like a giant beside her. So I think she's less than 160. But there again, there's an advantage. If you're small in the strong headwind, it's better than being big. so everything is loaded in Johaug's favour today.
Well, she's certainly not like Queen Victoria, who I learnt last night has had a bigger circumference than she did height. Really, that is not the case with Therese Johaug.
But this chasing pack, Therese, you can see her slipping there on the steep climb. And it's difficult to find a wax which is going to work up this gradient.
OK, so we had 14.2 seconds last time through the stadium. I guess like cycling and like many sports, when you're working together, you can, if you share the lead, you share the work, you can do well. And what a cracking season we're going to have with these four, because they're all now at the top of their game. Charlotte Kalla will be with them, but she's just missed her opportunity. I wonder whether it's a wax problem, a ski problem that's affected Kalla in the early stages. She's not used to seeing other Swedes get away from her, and Ingmarsdottir and Nilsson have done it. But it's good news for Sweden in terms of relays, and the Swedish women certainly taking over from the Swedish men. Halverson is missing from the races up here, that's a shame. But Sweden's men have not looked good in the pre-season races. So the margin's grown again, Mike.
Yes, Johaug's just now playing safe. She's keeping it safe. She's keeping it untouchable. She's thinking if I do have a mistake out on the track, but still, Patrick, we're only halfway. And this is when the fatigue, if Johaug has gone too hard in the early stages, it could have affected her a little, but we're just seeing a class act today from Johaug.
But we've also got to consider that second group of four, Osberg, Weng, Ingmarsdottir, Nilsson. They've started to play it tactically. If you want to win that race, you don't want to be leading, which Osberg's doing at the moment, and you certainly don't want to be extending yourself too far before the final lap.
That is very true, and I think that in picture, is she in picture yet? I think Kowalczyk, there she is. She's, for me, the one who could be challenging to get up into the top 5 even. I think she's 12th or 11th at the moment. No, but it'll be 12th actually coming through.
12th position. But quite a margin between her, certainly, and that leading 4. And she's got to make contact with that leading 4 to get into the top 5. That surely isn't going to happen, even when, when she's on her very best form, but she's way off her best form. Digging deep, 1:19 behind for Kowalczyk, having started 55 seconds behind. So in time terms, she is the second quickest out there. This is the second group, and here is the lady that they are chasing. And the margin last time they went through the stadium at the halfway marker, 24.5 seconds. Johaug doesn't need to extend it. I think she's probably capable if she wants to. The wax seems to have settled down a little. I know we saw Johaug slipping there, Mike, but often that's the case, they've waxed for the second, third and fourth lap, not for the first lap.
It's a difficult one, and the temperature hasn't changed, but even even though the stadium is at the high point of the race, but somewhat 30 metres higher, 35, 40 metres in fact, higher than the lowest point, even those slight changes in altitude affect the temperature, so you're never going to find the best wax. There's the under 23 leader with the greenish bib, and that's Stina Nilsson. She took 3 silver medals at the World Championships in Falun. She was absolutely on form and delighted to get those 3 medals for our home crowd. Well, the gap was 24.5, and you just feel once again Therese Johaug is extending it further, maybe down to 27 seconds. 28 even, it was 24.5. And this chasing pack just seemed to be eyeballing each other, just thinking, well, we're never going to catch Therese Johaug. And there's a little chess game between them. Who's going to lead this one? I think it is going to be bib 3, Heidi Weng. Well, from 24 seconds behind, it's now 41. Johaug is pressing hard again.
But her comfortable level is just that much higher than everyone else's comfortable level. I don't think she's putting 100% in at this stage. She's just in very, very good shape. Niskanen goes through in 6th. That's good skiing from Niskanen. She's gone from 12th up into 6th. Charlotte Kalla, who started number 6, still in 7th position, but 1:02 behind. And I think Kalla suffering from the last couple of days of racing. I think her race fitness is well below what we saw from her in the World Championships last year. And wasn't it great in Falun that she managed to come away with a gold, a silver and 2 bronze?
Oh, she did so well, and I think, Nilsson was certainly inspired to take her 3 silver medals by her teammate Kalla. There's Nielsen now going to the front, and Nielsen has this attack, this little terrier attitude. She's a brilliant young athlete, and I think a great find, another great find, developed so well in the Swedish clubs. Niskanen, her brother, will be racing later on this morning, and his strength is this classic technique where your skis are in the tracks, just I suppose not far off the running technique, but you're compressing all your weight down and then gliding. The efficient part of the technique on these uphills is the stride, reaching forward, trying to keep as efficient, as smooth as possible. This is brilliant. Almost running up that climb into the stadium. It doesn't look much, that left-hander, but it's difficult. It's almost the camber goes away from you, so you're thrown out as you go around the corner. Well, there's Heidi Weng. I think it's Heidi Weng putting on a bit of a turbocharge.
Yeah, that's a good turn of pace from Heidi Weng, and I think she will have tried to surprise them by going on the penultimate lap rather than the last one, unless of course she's miscounted, but with only 4 laps that won't be the case. I think that's a brave move from Weng. We'll see whether it does any damage. Everyone's raised their game. Johaug will be unaware of that as she goes through. 7.5 completed, 2,500 metres to go for her, only 20 minutes 14 seconds on the clock as we have a look at the group and who has been blown out the back. It's Ingmarsdottir who has lost the pace, and she's going to lose that yellow bib for certain now if she can't hang on to these 3.
Where's Heidi Weng going? Get up. She has to go back, retrace it. Oh, Heidi Weng, you need to know what's happening. She thinks she's going to the finish line.
She thinks she's going for the finish line.
Why is her teammate not shouting her? Oh, don't believe it. She has to retrace her steps now.
Well, I suggest
somebody needs to tell her you've got 1 more lap to go.
I cannot believe it.
Where's the coaches? Where's the backup?
That is something she will not live down for a long time. Now, will she?
She needs to get back down the track.
Will she get back down the track, retrace, get back out on the course? In terms of her overall World Cup position, even at this stage of the season, it's important. And she's got, here she goes. Here she goes. All credit to her. If she gets back on the track.
No, get down the track. No, she needs to get down the track. She'll be disqualified.
More than 2 metres off the course. I think disqualification coming her way. But at least she's getting back out on the track and racing again. All sorts of drama.
Well, isn't that interesting? When you're in a little battle like that, I thought she was testing out the pace for the next time round, but she thought she was going to the finish. Oh,
incredible, incredible. And I don't understand how she didn't realise that Therese Johaug wasn't in the finish. I know Johaug was a long way ahead, but she still would have been on the floor trying to recover after her effort. So extraordinary scenes, and a little bit of sympathy has to go to Heidi Weng. When you're in that race situation, you can make stupid mistakes.
Do you know what, Patrick? That mistake there today could really affect. She is, for me, going to be second best, maybe even challenging Johaug for the big trophies this year. And this was her mistake.
This is where she needed to take that left-hand turn, and Stina Nielsen so nearly went the wrong way. And I think you may be right. Should Osberg have shouted over?
Definitely, definitely.
Maybe, but in these situations when you got a lot of noise from the crowd, she probably wouldn't have heard it anyway. But Weng is oblivious to what's going on behind her and to the side. And actually, Mike, that points out that's why race organisers need to have been racers, because they understand that your mental capacity is pretty much reduced at that stage of a race, and you need every ounce of help you can get. There could easily have been a marshal there pointing the way that you go.
There could have been, but let's be honest, if it's 4 laps,
you've got to be able to count to 4.
You're an athlete, world-class athlete, you need to know it.
Well, that will be a talking point for the next couple of weekends, no doubt. So the group of 4 is down to 3, and because of that, well, Ingmarsdottir has got a reprieve, Mike, because she had lost contact with that group. Johaug doesn't know what's going on behind her. It doesn't affect her as she goes round. Apologies to those of you who were offended by the fact that we didn't know our Birkebeiner in it. Details. It's 3.5 kilos they carry, and it's 56 kilometres, I think they race. So 2:41 is a pretty impressive time, and that's what Johaug did last year to win it. And 3.5 kilos still, what's that, 7% of body weight she's had to add?
That's heavy, that's a challenge, and of course it's a fearsome amount of climbing over that 56 kilometres.
Well, Ingmarsdottir has benefited from not going with that pace. We can see Østberg suffering, and Stina Nielsen also still trying to recover after that effort. Number 12 coming through, Kerttu Niskanen, and good effort from Niskanen. Charlotte Kalla behind her still doesn't seem to have recovered from yesterday's race.
I'm just thinking, Patrick, I haven't seen anything on my sheets here, but the jury will be discussing what happened with Heidi Weng. There she is there on the right-hand side. She didn't go through the timing at the penultimate lap in the stadium, but what's going through her mind now?
And is she at fault for not knowing she should have retraced her steps?
Yeah, absolutely. If you need to know your rule book if you're an athlete as well. But there again, she was just in this mist of madness where you're in a race and just attacking, and she wouldn't. Her panic, her situation was, well, I'm right beside the track which exits the stadium, so she just crossed over. Maybe the jury will allow it. I don't think they will, but maybe they will.
And here comes Johaug. She is now on the last lap, so she will be taking that right-hand turn when she gets back to the stadium. You can see the jump that obviously leads or points the way down into that stadium bowl, so she knows exactly how far she's got to go. One major climb left for Therese Johaug. For the rest, there's a little more work to do. Ingmarsdottir has done well, but she has Heidi Weng to thank for the fact that she is now on her own in second place.
Østberg trying hard, double poling furiously. I'm sure Østberg will have shouted across to Heidi Weng, but yes, the spectators in there was a lot of noise in the stadium she may not have heard. Just looking further down the results, Patrick, Anika Taylor, the British athlete, 4:42 behind with 1 lap to go, in 62nd position.
So Johaug, Nielsen, Østberg, Ingmarsdottir, the top 4 at the moment. There goes Nielsen.
Heidi Weng is still in 8th position, and I think she can pull back to 7th. That would be catching Kalla. Jakobsen is just 4 seconds ahead of her as well. Chance to move up to 6th.
Well, if she's not disqualified, no massive damage done to her World Cup points tally when we look back at it at the end of the season. But if she gets 0 points for being disqualified, that's 50 points plus her position in the Tour, because she'll lose all the points that she would have won in the mini Tour here in Ruka. That is a devastating blow, and really it means she's out of the challenge for the overall.
I think so. It's a serious situation for her, depending on how they view what happened here in the stadium.
Well, let's focus on Therese Johaug as she comes in. 6 wins, 13 podiums last year. She still finished in 2nd place in the overall. Unbelievable. Bjørgen with 15 wins last season was in a class of her own. But Johaug coming in, 2nd victory of the season after just 3 races. She looked very comfortable yesterday in the freestyle. She's looked even better in the classic today. And she's going from strength to strength. At 27, she is very much in her prime. Fantastic skiing from her, and of course she got 3 golds at the World Championships last year, so I guess the only thing, and she's won the Tour de Ski, which no other Norwegian woman has done. 2nd place to Stina Nielsen, and that certainly puts a smile on her face. So Sweden have done well to get on the podium in the women's races, and 3rd place for Østberg, who started 2nd alongside Therese Johaug.
I think that was a great performance from Østberg. She's more a sprinter, but showing today the 10 kilometres classic she can handle as well.
Ingmarsdottir 4th in the end, and a good race from Ingmarsdottir, as you say, a much better season than we've seen from her, and I think we're going to see her regularly in the top positions. 5th for Niskanen of Finland, and Niskanen started in 12th place, 35.5, so that's one of the better performances. Charlotte Kalla coming in 6th, and just behind her the third of the Norwegians. It would have been 4 at this stage, but Jakobsen in 7th place.
Heidi Weng coming in shortly. That's Parmakoski first.
Parmakoski just ahead of Heidi Weng. Expect to see an asterisk against Heidi Weng's name.
They haven't even shown her across
they
the
haven't
line.
even given her a position, so that looks as though the disqualification has happened.
Yep.
Wow, that is a big, big blow.
Yep, she's out.
Fowler goes 9. Kowalczyk, who started 24, all the way up into 10th position, 1:48. She has still almost lost a minute, not quite a minute, but nearly loses a minute to Therese Johaug. We need a shot of Heidi Weng to see what her reaction is. First of the Americans, Sadie Björnsson, just behind Nicole Fessel of Germany, 2:05 the margin. And Sadie Björnsson started 35 behind, so she's lost a minute 25. Heidi Weng being comforted by Therese Johaug. Oh,
do you know,
how embarrassing for her, yeah.
It's a serious situation, because Heidi Weng is the one, I think, to challenge Therese Johaug throughout the season, and this is a massive setback to lose all her points over these 3 days. Oh.
Well, you can understand the emotion, and half an hour's time she'll recover from that.
What's amazing me, Patrick, is the Norwegian team here is the biggest backup team we have. Yeah, they have got the biggest waxing backup, coaching backup. I'm amazed that she wasn't guided. Yes, you're in a mist of madness there when you go wrong. Someone should really have said, ski back down the straight, retrace your steps, and she would still be in the race, and she'd still have points away from these 3 days of racing. Now she has nothing.
Yeah.
It's a great loss. It's a huge loss for her.
But were they expecting her to finish after 3 laps? No. But a good team is prepared for the unexpected, and they weren't on this occasion. It's a bit like when someone breaks a ski or a pole, and there's no one there to help them out.
But generally, you've got your coaches around here. They should have been screaming because she lay on the ground for some 20 seconds thinking it was over. And what's so impressive here, it is a little like a family. You've got the Swedish athletes. Everybody is trying to console right now Heidi Weng, just saying, listen, these things happen.
But also, Mike, the markers in the stadium, and I'm taking nothing away from the fact that Heidi Weng is 100% to blame, but on a lot of races, the markers guide you where to go for laps 1, 2 and 3, and they will remove them once everyone's gone through, or once the leaders have gone through after that first lap, so they're then open to go into the finish. But it would take two cones to have prevented that problem, and it's something that maybe they should consider. But again, Heidi Weng's fault, Heidi Weng's problem, but it's something that they could do to avoid it.
Possibly. I hear what you're saying, but you know, the team briefing, the team leaders go to the meetings, the information is this, that information is passed to the athletes. You need to mind map what you're doing as an athlete. I know it was a head-to-head situation.
But you've mentioned the red mist. We all know what it's like to be in that situation when you're absolutely at your wit's end and physically exhausted. Your brain doesn't work right.
No, you need I can't disagree. You need a visual.
Why not have a marshal in the stadium saying, this way, ladies, and problem avoided.
We've seen it before, though, haven't we? We've seen it so many times at World Championships. Remember the Olympic Games in Vancouver, the Belarus team in cross-country skiing were going to make the final, leading by a margin. All they had to do was another 100 metres. He took the wrong turning, and they lost their chance of a final position in the sprint.
Yeah, I remember a British skier by the name of Andy Wiley. The only time I ever beat him was when he got lost.
Win today, and your first mini
so let's
tour
see
victory.
what Therese, no problem for her.
Oh, that was really awesome to ski today. I'm in good shape and my technique was also good. So I'm really satisfied that I'm going in front alone and the other is in a group behind me and work together. So I'm really happy that I get a gap and that I passed the finish line first. So it's really good to start the season like this.
And difficult conditions for the skis today with new snow around zero, but you made it look quite easy.
Yeah, it was a little bit different around the tracks, but I'm running outside and I have good skis there, so no, the Waxer team has done a really good job this weekend, and now I'm looking forward to come home and go to Lillehammer next week.
Congratulations on your first mini tour victory and just an awesome start to the season.
Oh, thank you so much.
So she'll head back to Oslo. When she says she's running out of the tracks, what she means is she's on the uphills. She came out of the Spore, the track that's cut, into the softer snow on the side, and sounds as though she had better grip out there. But also she looked at her skis, looked to be working fine in the tracks as well. So quite right to give credit to the technicians.
Clever racing. She reads the terrain well, and we saw her so many times on the far left on the hill at 1.5 kilometres.
So 23 wins now for Therese Johaug. We'll have a look at her stats. Mike, what would you like to have known from her in that interview?
I would have liked to have known what was going through her mind. You know, when the pack were starting so close, was she frightened? She would have been, but she got it all right. And look at these stats. That is, she's just going to be the dominant force this season by the look of what she's managing to achieve this weekend.
Over 30% on the podium. That is some statistic when you think that most of these skiers, and she started at 17, and she's still got 30% on the podium. Phenomenal. As I mentioned, 13 podiums in last year's campaign, and the out-and-out star classic skier last year, and that includes Marit Bjørgen.
I'm in good shape, and my technique was also good, so I'm really satisfied that I'm going.
Well, let's have a look at the results. And Johaug, Nielsen, Østberg, you know about. Heidi Weng, well, she's there at 1:27, so I guess we'll have to have a chat with the race officials in between the two races, find out exactly what the score is as we have a look further down the order. I'm pretty sure Weng is going to be disqualified, but that's put a little bit of doubt in our mind. Good race from Sadie Bjørnsen, 14th, and nice to have the Americans two in the top 20 yesterday, which was better than the Russians, and so they're still going from strength to strength. Further down the order, Jess Diggins seems to be a little bit off the boil at the moment. Rosie Brennan likewise, 34th position today. Big margins in time-wise. Now, plenty going on today, despite the fact that the Nordic Combined has been cancelled. So let's have a look at the programme for today. So Nordic Combined cancelled, as you can see. The men's cross-country, 15 kilometres at 10:15 UK time. Biathlon starts today as well. We have a single mixed relay, the new format introduced last year. And then we have a mixed relay starting at 2:15. And then it's all about Alpine this evening. Of course, the tour over in North America. Aspen for the ladies. First run of the slalom at 4:45 UK time. And then the men still doing a little bit of speed at 6 o'clock this evening. The Super G in Lake Louise after yesterday's downhill. So that's all from Ruka for now. Remember, the men's 15K still to come. Mike, are we going to see a similar story? Norway getting yet another win, keeping their 100% record?
I think we will. I think Sundby will try and adopt the same strategy here as we've seen Johaug. It's a brave strategy. Can he live with it?
We'll see you a little later on. Goodbye for now.